Jo Brand. Welcome to Have I Got Election News for You? Specially recorded after election night, so we'd know exactly what the final outcome was. Well, that worked. On the kind of day that makes our political system the envy of the world, yes, we've got no government.
Does that mean we can do what we like?
Yes. At a polling station in Manchester, as 10 o'clock approaches, it looks like one or two voters may miss out. After exit polls suggest a victory in Eastbourne, the Young Conservative Club party into the early hours. While giving Nick Clegg a lift home in the Lib Dem battle boat, Vince Cable realises he's forgotten his driving glasses.
Good audience noise, that was fantastic. Just like you actually on that boat.
A bad week gets worse for Gillian Duffy as she hears she's not got the part of Nora Batty's sister in The Last of the Summer Wine.
You're a joke.
On Ian's team, a Swindon-based comedian who's been very open about suffering from a debilitating disorder, namely that he lives in Swindon. Please welcome John Richardson. And on Paul's team is one of the few politicians who knows what the future holds for him. A regular slot bantering with Jeff Stelling in Dictionary Corner. Please welcome Lembit Opik. Ian and John, take a look at this.
Queues.
Yeah, people wanting to vote.
Unmanageable turnout of 65%.
They think this is South Africa. Get out of it! Now, that's the Lib Dem votes being chucked in the river. Off you go!
My votes, yeah, my votes, yeah.
That's someone explaining they haven't a clue. Goodbye to you. Go and watch a film, one of your husbands. Hello, Gordon. Well, the people have spoken, as Joe said, and they've said, I'm not sure.
We don't know any of you.
Oh, what about you? I don't know. No, it's very exciting. We've got a new Prime Minister, Gordon Brown. You've never voted for him before, and you didn't vote for him this time. So, democracy working pretty damn well, I think.
Does this mean this is going to carry on?
What, this show? God.
The whole I thought at least it would be finished this morning, but it's not, is it? It's going to be months of...
Months of it?
In some cases, it has.
It's good that you're not dwelling on it, though.
I'm completely over it.
After 19 years, is it? Presumably it's...
13 years and 4 days, roughly. I mean, I'm not counting, but...
Somebody was.
If I was Brown, and today I would just resign and then run naked through the streets of London going, you're the bigot, you're the bigot. Can't touch me now, bigots. But they're all still trying to make friends, aren't they? They're trying to do a, hey... They're like passing notes on the news this morning going, tell Nick I think he's fit, Gordon.
Well, Gordon, I think, has actually superglued himself to the door of number 10. It will be impossible to get him out. He's like a barnacle, isn't he? Nope, not going.
It is indeed the overwhelmingly indecisive outcome of the election. In fact, we only know one result for sure. Don't we, Lembit?
Can we get on with this? I've actually got an appointment at the job centre in about half an hour.
They phoned earlier, they cancelled.
Your party got a quarter of the vote and 50 seats. So that's good, that's working then.
It was a moral victory for most of us.
Oh,
Unbelievable. Sorry, Joe, do
No,
continue.
not at all. No, help yourself.
No.
Just as much your show as mine. In fact, more your show.
No, this is sounding like coalition talks. Mandelson saying, no, I've always been in favour of a proportional representation. What? When did the Labour Party decide first past the post didn't work?
This morning, actually.
Does anyone know how Nick Clegg summed up the night?
He said it was disillusioning. No, disappointing.
Well, apparently when Lib Dems lost Richmond Park to Zach Goldsmith and the Tories, he said, it wasn't supposed to be like this.
Yeah. You see?
And...
Well, in the next election, at the end of next week, vote differently.
To be fair, when he said it was a two-horse race, he didn't specify that the Lib Dems would be one of the horses.
And former Lib Dem leader Lord Ashdown said, the country has spoken, but we don't know what they've said. So...
That is the best thing about this election, though, isn't it? Because everybody has no idea what they're talking about. There's hours and hours of telly. I watched Bruce Forsyth last night being asked about the niceties of hung Parliament. So, Brucey, what do you think? Well...
Nicety for the hung Parliament, hung Parliament, then nicety.
That's really good to say.
Do you want to have a look at the lovely Brucey, shall we?
Very encouraging. But I must say, Andrew, I feel very uncomfortable because I never have my back to an audience. There's my audience. Quiet, please! Quiet, please! Nice to see you! To see you! I never have my back to the audience, you see. Sorry about that.
He knows about as much as everybody else.
The most depressing thing I saw on telly last night was Joan Collins. Were you on that boat with her?
Yeah.
They let her talk about stuff as if she knew what... And they said, why do you like David Cameron? She went, I just like him and he's good for families. You know what? Do you know what about single people? Do you
Like
know?
herself.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, there's this view that families deserve all the tax breaks, but, you know, they're married with kids. They've already got a reason to go home. The tax cuts should go to people like me so I could buy more DVDs to forget I exist for 2 hours a day.
Two single people clapping.
The after-show celebrity political party was so confusing that you actually went from the BBC to ITV, didn't you, or something like that?
Yeah, no, I was everywhere.
Yeah.
I thought if Brucey can do it, I can.
Now, Ian, this election has been all about compromise, and you were on the boat with Piers Morgan. Was that nice?
I'm not strictly at the same time.
Oh, right.
That was in the deal.
And...
Ships in the night.
Yes, fair enough.
Without the P.
What did...
You can hear people trying to work that out. Shiz in the night.
Also, you've mentioned Joan Collins was there as well. Jeremy Paxman was a bit jealous, apparently. Let's have a look at that.
David, thank you very much. Well, we haven't got Joan Collins. We have, however, got Tessa Jowell. What a treat. The Olympics minister. There you are. Recover from that.
Now, Never
can you
within 6 feet of Botox.
Is she suggesting Joan Collins has Botox?
I think Joan Collins is made of Botox. That's actually, Tessa Jowell is my local MP, and she was canvassing a while ago in our school playground. I was picking up my daughters, and she came up to me and went, oh, hello, Joe, on nan duty for the weekend, are we? I said, right, fuck it, I'm voting BNP. What did Lord Mandelson blame for Labour's poor result?
Was it the volcano?
No.
No. Greek?
Greek?
Yeah. As a language.
Oh, right, okay. Not a particular one. No, no.
No, he blamed the person who organised the Labour campaign, Lord Mandelson. No, I'm just fantasying here.
Do you want to have a bash?
No, it's kind of just moaning quietly, actually. I didn't think you were listening.
No, loudly.
I actually feel better for that. Thank you for letting me share that with you.
I can see why the cheeky girl went that way now. still want to move on before we just fall out. Lord Manson apparently blamed problems at polling stations.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Some returning officers had to lock voters out of polling stations when queues continued to form beyond 10 o'clock. Here's how Mandy decided to spin it.
I'm concerned about it because traditionally more Conservatives vote earlier in the day and more Labour people vote in the final couple of hours of poll.
Basically, what he's saying there is that, like, about 4 million people who would have voted Labour all turned up 15 minutes before 10 o'clock.
It's funny that he thinks there's a sort of a bad reputation for politicians spinning.
That's crazy.
And then he goes on and says that. Unbelievable. Anyway, sorry.
There is a historical angle to this as well. In the '64 general election, Harold Wilson successfully petitioned the BBC to not show Steptoe and Son until after the polls were closed, because it was believed that Steptoe and Son had a very large working-class viewership.
Is that true?
Yeah. It'd be a boring thing to make up, wouldn't it? The only thing he's got going for it is it's true.
I'm trying...
How many did you lose by?
About 1,200, actually.
You were second, though, weren't you?
Yeah, I came second, you know. I'm pretty pleased about that.
I'm trying to offer some comfort here.
Ian's used to come in second. He's used to it. It's nice. It's a nice place. It's a nice place to be.
Often I'm third and there's only 2 teams.
Now, one person who couldn't vote was Finn Gregg of Hackney, who said, I turned up at 8:45. I was 20-odd people away from the desk. Well, he was in Hackney. Sorry, Hackney. I love Hackney. And I don't know why I did that joke, because I was told to, or I would lose my job. Not really.
But that's the equivalent
No,
to
I'm
Brown
joking.
saying you're a bigot, no, you're not. You can't say Hackney's rubbish and say, oh, I'm sorry. That's really feeble.
All right, then, Hackney, you're rubbish.
You have to
Sorry.
drive to Hackney. You have to go to everyone in Hackney's house and say sorry to their faces.
OK.
And then Swindon as well, for what you said about Swindon at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, and Birmingham shit, too. I'm sorry, see, now you've riled me, Glasgow shithole. You know...
When are you next on tour?
I think unlikely I'll ever tour again. What happened to Esther Ranson?
She lost.
She lost her
No,
deposit.
she lost the deposit, she did.
Good.
Yes, yeah. Well, someone has to say it, that's life. I know, no cigar for that one, sorry.
Right, now, everyone was hoping Ed Balls would provide a Portillo moment. Michael Portillo said this week, my name is now synonymous with eating a bucket load of shit in public.
And he will do these game shows.
Haven't been on that one yet.
No. The offer will be coming, don't worry. Or maybe not. I mean,
I do hope so.
yeah, so do I.
That was the most depressing use of the word yet I've ever heard in my entire life.
Did you stay up for Lembit? It was. It's the most important thing that happened in the election.
Because?
It's quite funny.
I was expecting a bit more than that, wasn't you?
Ladies and gentlemen, the great thing about losing my seat is I can actually take a fee for this now instead of getting this kind of abuse for nothing. And it's
Very
just
unfair.
gone up.
There was Jackie Smith. Lots of people stayed up to watch Herbie throw
What
out.
time was Jackie Smith thrown out?
Anyone? Up? 3?
No.
You won't be drawn on figures, will you? Bloody public. They don't tell you anything. Bigots.
Oh, her husband was probably still up to console her. Late night telly, you know.
What's been the really big news for the BBC in this election?
The election studio that they spent all the money on?
Indeed.
Oh, really?
Yes, apparently. They've spent billions of licence payers' money on a massively pompous, over-the-top election studio, which they're very excited about. Hugh Edwards, in particular, can't stop mentioning it.
Well, every night this week, we'll be broadcasting from the BBC's main election studio Jeremy Vine there, Nick Robinson, our political editor, here with me in the election studio. And in a moment, all the election news where you are, and we'll be back here in the BBC election studio tomorrow night. We're in the BBC's election studio with the latest on the campaign. A very good evening from the BBC election studio. Our economics editor, Stephanie Flanders, is here with me in the BBC election studio. Tomorrow is here in the BBC election studio. Have a good night.
So where was he exactly?
Well, apparently it cost 20 million quid to build. No, well, it might have. They won't tell us. So I'm just having a punt there.
How much do you think this set cost to build?
20 quid. But be fair, they're going to get a lot of use out of it. Because I think we're going to have a couple of elections this year.
Can't we make it a weekly occurrence?
Yeah,
I do hope so.
And they've been equally smug about their very fancy, completely necessary and not at all patronising graphics, too. Did anyone see Jeremy Vine explaining the tricky concept that Cameron might not win enough seats to get to number 10 with a majority? Should we have a look?
Yeah, lovely.
Here we have Downing Street. At the far end, on the other end, is the door of number 10. He needs some paving stones, doesn't he? Here they come. Each paving stone has the name of a seat on it. These are the 116 seats that the Conservatives need for an overall majority in the House of Commons.
Crazy paving.
Well, it's not actually as easy as it looks. Should we just have a look at Jeremy practising that a little earlier?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you need to listen carefully here.
Newsnight alumnus Jeremy Vine readying himself with his super sophisticated graphics to take the Walk of Fame.
Where are they?
Yes, the results are in and the people have spoken. The final result is still up in the air, unlike UKIP's plane.
Oh, that's good. They're clapping a plane crash.
No, I think there's a mood in this audience today, which is a mood of sort of like, thank God it's over for a bit, and let's just take the piss out of the whole business. I think that's the mood that's in the audience today. So you're very lucky you haven't come to see the Antiques Roadshow.
I think they're feeling punitive. Plane crash. Lembit loses job. Economy goes down the toilet.
There's just no defence for getting in a plane there, is there? It's one of those things you look at and you go, if we would feel sorry for you if there's any reason for you to be in a plane at that point. But they go, well, what would you change about your 2005 campaign? Mainly the altitude.
Apparently the plane crash was caused by the banner they were towing mixing up with the prop at the front. I mean, how slowly were they going? I mean, backwards?
The loop, maybe?
It still doesn't work.
No.
You can't break the laws of physics.
No. Ah, say that in a Scottish accent and I've got a job for you.
In that case, I'll try. You can't break the laws of physics.
Star Trek!
Here we are. Absolutely.
I'm interested in the human story of what Lembit is going to do now.
Go for it, then.
Are there any headhunters in the audience?
You just failed your
whatever
interview.
it is you're looking for, really. I don't know yet.
It's brutal democracy, isn't it?
No, but you are. You were horrible to me the last time I was on the show as well, you were.
I don't believe it. It's the sort of lies you politicians tell.
I'm not a politician! Three at last!
That's probably the best response you've ever had.
But I'm crying inside.
Yes, of course. Of course.
OK, if the parties can't reach agreement, the electorate may be asked to vote again, or if you were one of those who got locked out last night, for the first time. In some areas, the election night fiasco was blamed on large numbers of students turning up to vote just before the polls closed at 10, although, to be fair, they had only just got up. In Northern Ireland, First Minister Peter Robinson lost his seat, which must have been quite a shock for him, though perhaps not as big as the shock he got when he came home to find a 19-year-old shagging his missus.
Harsh but true.
Earlier in the week, Simon Cowell called for a Tory majority and warned that a hung parliament would be a disaster, as it would mean months of stupid arguments and then a dull compromise. Mind you, that's how they choose the winner of the X Factor. So, Paul, Ian, the old certainties are gone. It's time for unlikely alliances. Paul, could you ever find it in your heart to put your bitter rivalry to one side and form a coalition with Ian?
Yeah, all right.
Go on, then.
I've got a feeling you're going to win this week. Have a look, Lembit, see how it's done.
Yeah.
This is much better. I love sitting here. This is great. I'll sit here forever from now on.
Can I say I've always wanted this?
Yeah.
I've argued for it for years. And any suggestion that I'm doing it as a matter of convenience is not true. I agree with Nick. Paul.
Do you want to do a rabble-rousing speech on behalf of our coalition?
I think what we offer is not them, basically. People are sick of you coming on here, making fun of the contestants, you know. Just because I'm having a bit of a hard time at the moment, lend us the price of a cup of tea, I'll give it back to you next week. I don't mean nothing, Governor. I've got me harmonica and can play that for you if you want. And I have. No, I have.
Find some change.
I have.
Are we witnessing a mental breakdown?
You do the singing and I'll do the playing.
Are you happy to stay there?
Yeah, very happy.
Yeah, OK. Let's move on, then.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not saying it's permanent. It may only be around.
Yeah.
We will let the public decide.
Or it may be...
Don't do that.
Forever. To be necking.
OK, get on with it.
This is great. You're right in the middle of it. It's just sitting on the end like a bozo. No offence.
John and Lembit, let's see how we got here.
David Cameron.
Fish and chips.
A person. Someone.
We are
Nick
good
Clegg.
together.
Yeah. Oh, a man complaining about nuclear power, was it? Yeah, nuclear power he was complaining about.
A woman?
No, not a woman. It was Duffy. And this was a happier time for me. And a very happy time for him, because he practiced that smile probably all his life. Just for that screensaver moment.
The bitterness is just oozing out of the man.
You'd be bitter if you were me.
Yeah, I would. But I'm not, so I'm not.
You've got a feel for Gordon Brown. I mean, all he did was get into a car while mic'd for sound after having spoken to one of his loyal supporters and called her a bigoted woman. I mean, who at some point in their lives hasn't done that when they're Prime Minister?
There's no way during this campaign David Cameron hasn't got in his car after a meet and greet and gone, what a dickhead.
See, I mean, you know...
Yeah, but he didn't get caught doing it, so the word dickhead tends to apply to the Prime Minister.
They spent 40 minutes in her house saying sorry. That's a long apology. Yeah.
And she didn't
Well,
vote for him
are you
anyway.
suggesting there was something else going on? Mate, it was all a bit of a plan on his part. Call her a bigot. Pop back later. Sorry about that. Then comes out grinning. That's the way I read the situation politically.
You should really write porn.
Too busy living it, mate.
Now they're applauding pornography.
Pornography air crashes. This audience will applaud anything.
No wonder they couldn't come to a decisive decision at the polls.
I've got a dead kitten in my pocket. Thank you, that was great.
So, Gordon Brown is still Prime Minister despite Biddygate.
Yes.
According to the Mail on Sunday...
He might not be by the repeat.
No.
You could have David Miliband as Prime Minister, and you haven't voted for him either. Exciting, that, wouldn't it? Or Harriet Harman. Oh, no.
Seems that Harriet Harman's not as popular as a dead kitten.
What, according to the Mail on Sunday interview, went on when Gordon was inside Gillian Duffy's house?
I think Paul's just told us.
It is not quite accurate.
It is.
Well, she said I couldn't offer him a cup of tea because I had no milk. Yeah. I had a bottle of whiskey, but I thought I'm not opening that for him. Made for each other, really. And she eventually escaped to Canada on a plane, but who went with her?
The pilot?
No, luckily for her, she had a friendly 3 a.m. girl from the Mirror stalking her. Danielle Lawler was there to bag this particular scoop. Tucking into beef stew with boiled potatoes and peas in economy class, Mrs. Duffy said, "This is the worst week of my life." I didn't ask for this. I assume she'd tick the veggie option, but After the gaffe, what did Gordon do, according to The Sun?
He had his head in his hands, didn't he, in a studio? He couldn't believe he'd been that stupid.
Well, apparently he went on an unplanned walkabout of Manchester Station. Yeah, we've all been that pissed a few times. I saw a great woman interviewed on the news, actually, when during the campaign, and they said, who are you going to vote for? And she goes, oh, I don't really know yet, but is it a Labour government we've got in at the moment?
I once saw two women in W.H. Smith's pointing at a book called The History of the 20th Century. Big, thick book, and one woman sort of nervously pointed to it and said, don't get that, it's about everything.
And do you know what went wrong with Labour's relaunch after Biddygate?
Oh, there was actually a car crash.
Yeah. There was.
A metaphor became life.
Seeing as this
Your
audience
campaign...
likes a crash,
yeah.
Should we have a look at it?
You'll love this.
Creating tax fairness, making sure that ultimately...
It's actually alleged by the driver that he was bumped by the occupants of a rubbish truck shouting abuse from an adjacent roundabout. We've actually got his actual drawing of the accident from his insurance claim.
That's a good poster. Labour are not rubbish.
Now, there have been a few problems on all sides to do with presentation. There was a technical problem when William Hague appeared to be speaking with Theresa May's voice.
Oh, good. love a ventriloquist act.
Sticky moment, perhaps, on inheritance tax cut for the rich. This isn't about fairness.
No, David Cameron was very strong on substance, very strong on leadership. He showed he was Prime Ministerial, and he clearly showed that it's the Conservatives that have got the answers, that have got the policies that will really get them from
I think he's been told by David Cameron to sound a bit more posh.
Well, they are posh, the Tories, though, aren't they?
Oh.
Did you go to a posh school?
Yeah, minor public school, Ardingly. Yeah.
That's where all the miners go.
I think I'll have him back on my side.
Should we do that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Shall I
enough.
And the coalition has fallen.
Good to be back.
Yeah, I've always said I wanted to be with you.
Yeah. Sinking ship over there, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. You too, and two.
Did anyone see some of the last-minute endorsements of the various party leaders?
Simon Cowell.
Simon Cowell, Tories, obviously. Tories.
Nick Clegg obviously had Colin Firth.
Yep. Didn't the Labour Party have you? Didn't you do a video?
A video? Yes. Not the sort of video you're thinking of, though, Ian.
No, I wasn't.
Well, apparently Clegg had a ringing endorsement from Gillian Duffy.
Oh.
No, actually, the Telegraph asked a lot of people called Gillian Duffy for their views. Genius. Here's one quote. This is Duffy's from Norfolk. Nick Clegg hasn't unimpressed me, which, as I haven't seen that much, is as good as it gets.
That's about the tone of the result, isn't it?
I have a theory about why the Lib Dems didn't do as well, because they sent me a leaflet in my constituency, the local, and she did her flyer like a ballot paper, which had her name on it, and in the box she'd put a little tick. You've spoilt your own ballot paper.
And it's also emerged, apparently, that Gordon Brown is old friends with Kate Bush.
So what?
I'm gonna be high as a kite by then. I miss the earth. It's lonely out in space.
And also, someone I thought was dead, Nikolai Tolstoy, made a silly mistake on his manifesto. He was campaigning for UKIP in Witney, which is Dave's seat. Did you see his policy on immigration?
No. Got those Russians out.
Well, let's have a look. No one admitted to UK unless they fluent in English. Newsnight's Michael Crick was camped in Cameron's Witney constituency on Wednesday. Did you see what happened to him? Let's have a look. It was great.
Also, I think it's going to be a very patchy election. I think we're going to find not the uniform swing we've known in other places. We're going to find a lot of surprise results. We're going to be saying, gosh, how did so-and-so manage to hang on there? Crikey, wasn't it surprising that so-and-so lost their seat? I mean, as an example of a possible surprise, we've been hearing from both Labour and from the Conservatives tonight that the government chief whip, Nick Brown, is under a lot of pressure from the Liberal Democrats in his Newcastle seat. But at the end of the day, my feeling is that David Cameron will become Prime Minister in the next few days, probably on Friday or Saturday, probably somewhere in the late 200s or 300s.
Because there's some imbecile behind you doing funny faces and doing funny walks. So we'll have to. We might.
I think he's gone away now. I think.
All right.
I think
well,
he's gone away now.
Continue with your dissertation then. Go on.
Yes. As I say, I think David Cameron will probably become Prime Minister in the next few days, with the caveat of all the.
OK. Thanks a lot, Michael.
That explains everything. That was actually my campaign manager.
And because we haven't mentioned them, really, shall we have a quick recap of the BNP's campaign?
Yeah.
Go on, then.
The blokes on the ground, are they saying, can we count on your vote?
And how did Nick Griffin sum up the BNP's performance in this election?
Vote bigot.
What he actually said was, this is the last election the BNP fights as a large, small party. We are now a small, large party.
He was third, wasn't he? I mean, all that talk, just nothing. People didn't go for it.
Right, now, for Labour, the final nail in an already very securely nailed-down coffin came when Gordon Brown was caught on mic calling Labour supporter Gillian Duffy a bigoted woman. Mrs Duffy was particularly upset by Gordon Brown's hypocrisy. She told journalists he was smiling when he spoke to me. What else is he thinking when he smiles? Top lip up, bottom lip down. Show teeth, try not to look weird. According to the Mail on Sunday, the apology took place after a Labour publicity officer knocked on Mrs Duffy's door and asked her if she would accept a telephone call from Mr Brown, and would she mind if he reversed the charges. Nick Clegg came out on top in the TV debates thanks to his down-the-lens delivery and confident hand gestures, rather different from the hand gesture that Gordon Brown uses whenever a voter's back is turned. And, of course, any time now he'll be using this one. In the last week of the campaign, The Sun told its readers David Cameron will crisscross the country twice with stops in England, Scotland and Wales. Well, we've all had train journeys like that. Lembit, here's an analogy you might enjoy. An undecided voter earlier this week. Have a look at this.
I just wish that if I made a vote on May the 6th for Lib Dem, that meant Nick Clegg was running the country, but it won't. And I think that's a poor sign of our society. If I go in a restaurant and I order cheesecake and they bring me apple pie, I would send it back. I asked for cheesecake, so why do I want apple pie?
Now for the missing words round, which in this, our election special, features quotes from the election campaign. I've gone from being what to what in a week.
This is Nick Clegg, and he said, I've gone from being third to being third.
I've gone from being Churchill to a Nazi in a week.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's the Daily Mail's quote. The other paper saying he was like Churchill, and then they said he once made a speech saying that Britain was a bit obsessed with winning the Second World War, for which the Mail said he was a Nazi sympathiser. Pushing it a bit, really. You have to remember that the paper that supported the black shirts was the Daily Mail. Just pointing a historical detail.
That's right, he did indeed say, I've gone from being Churchill to a Nazi in a week. A typical Lib Dem, always changing their minds, I suppose.
Oh, we are and we're not.
What's all this wee stuff?
I can be a member, you know.
No, it's going to be who, sir? Oh, no, Mr. Opik.
Well, one person did say to me, didn't you used to be Lembit Opik? I mean, come on.
You get work as a lookalike for him.
Do you think I get the job?
God, that's his level of self-confidence. You don't think you'll get a job as your own lookalike. You see, this is what the public do to politicians. They just knife them.
Absolutely.
Feet are taken away.
Et tu, Basildon South.
Yeah.
Now, here's our next election quote. Sally Burko, Labour candidate and the Speaker's wife, wrote on Twitter, been what by a couple of smackheads in a stairwell.
Is it seduced?
I think it's canvassed. All sorts of people are volunteering now. It's very exciting.
Heckled?
It was heckled.
Yeah, well done.
Absolutely, well done. Though what Anne Widdecombe and Vince Cable were doing in a stairwell... Next election quote, Esther Ranson said, good morning, I'm a 69-year-old Jewish lady and I want what?
My deposit back.
Your dog pronouncing the word sausages very clearly. I want your vote.
I'm a 69-year-old
yourself?
Jewish lady, and I want to remember my name so I can stop introducing myself in this ridiculous fashion.
You're right, Paul. She did, in fact, say, I'm a 69-year-old Jewish lady and I want your vote. This was Esther's opening remark on entering a mosque, and I'm pleased to report that not one of the Muslims hated her because she was Jewish. They all hated her because she was Esther Ranson. Next election quote. Boris Johnson described the Lib Dems as Janus-faced, spineless, protoplasmic, invertebrate, amoebic...
Fine.
What? For whatters?
Fine coalition partners. Watch and see.
That's what he's saying this morning, yes.
With flippers, presumably.
Fibbers.
Fibbers. That's
Fibbers.
right. Fibbers. Finally, Peter Mandelson was heard to shout, where's what, get what?
Where's your nearest polling booth? Get there about 9:30, 9:45.
Where's Wally? I mean, get the PM.
Well, it was, where's Justin, get Justin. During a live radio recording, Peter Mandelson was heard to say, where's Justin, get Justin. The bit we didn't hear was, and if Justin's busy, tell the agency to send Fabio. Did you see Mandelson and George Osborne in the post-TV debate spin room?
No.
Here you go, then.
Well, Mandelson, George, happy memories of a Greek holiday? Flooding back?
I think Peter Mandelson will be spending quite a lot more time on holiday after that debate, because I thought...
It's not very nice, is it?
David showed he's ready to get
Just when I thought I'd made a friend on holiday, he turns on me in that sort of ugly way.
He turns into a joke the fact that two of our senior politicians take freebie holidays from one of the Rothschilds family, meet each other, and then expect you to believe they don't like each other. Ludicrous, man.
So, the final scores, because, yes, that's where we are. Ian and John have 2.
Look, I had Paul half the time. You can't count that against me.
I had Paul almost all the time, right?
How does it feel to be a winner?
Able to secure...
Good, isn't it? Good.
On which note we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and John Richardson, Paul Merton and Lembit Opik. And I leave you with the news that as the polls close, Gordon reveals that he's not quite sure how it happened, but he appears to have cast his vote for David Cameron. From his office in Westminster, Peter Mandelson activates the remote electrical charge device one more time. And as the parties try to work out whether to go it alone or form a coalition, the situation is summed up by one constitutional expert.
Their fate will be in each other's hands as they decide whether to share or to shaft.
Good night.
Up next here on BBC Two, we're building the ultimate fantasy rock and roll band. So who should be the guitarist?
I was robbed.
Two bad things have happened to you then.